Hello, everyone, and welcome back to EU Untangled, the podcast where we try our best to unravel the complexity of EU politics and policies. Today, we have a special guest. His name is Kostis Giannidis, and we're going to be talking with him about possibly the best known policy that the European Union has put out there, the Erasmus Plus program. I'm also quite thrilled because on the podcast, we also have my two most beloved co-hosts, Alex, who is joining us from Berlin, and Harpa, who is finally back all the way from Reykjavik.
Woo!
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
You've been having some shaky times over there, Harpa.
Oh, shaky times indeed. Fiery and explosive times potentially still. Basically we've been having earthquakes in Iceland. So it's close to 40,000 now within the period of 2 weeks. And that's more than we had for the entirety of the last 2 years. So I'm fired up and ready to record.
Shaken, not steered. This is
shaken,
great,
not
Harpa.
stirred. I've been waiting to work that joke into something in a conversation for 2 weeks now. And I still haven't managed to figure it out. And here you go, straight away. Damn.
Alex, it's good to have you back, man.
Nice to be back, and I'm very excited to be now in a team of 4 this time for this episode.
Kostis, I'll give you the floor now. We should have let our guests start, but somehow I left you at the end. I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. Thanks a lot, Victor. I'm already feel very included in this nice discussion that we have here. So hello, Victor. Hello, Harpa. Hello, Alex. It's a pleasure to be in this podcast and share my experience. So indeed, I am from the Erasmus Student Network. Currently, I'm having this podcast from the ESN House, which is basically the place where the board of the Erasmus Student Network lives in Brussels. I'll be very happy to share some thoughts about the Erasmus Plus program and the new developments.
We should have said as well, you are the president of the Erasmus Student Network, ESN. Could you say a few words about what ESN is and the role that you play there?
Yes, of course. ESN basically is a student organization which aims to support international students while they are abroad. For example, if a student lives from Italy to do his or her Erasmus in Belgium, then this student will find one of our local volunteers in Belgium to take care of this student and try to make this person to be integrated in the local community, to make this person meet new friends and feel comfortable in the new country. That also promote in general mobility. Whether if it is student mobility or youth mobility and so on, we want young people to live to live an international experience, because we believe that by studying or volunteering abroad, the experiences that students and young people get are very, very valuable for their personal development. Indeed, I am the president of the organization. We have 42 national organizations in 42 countries around across Europe, and then we have around 533 local associations based in different universities.
That is one impressive network, and I'm happy that that you mention all this work that you do, because I think unfairly so, ESN is also associated with a lot of partying. A lot of students go abroad and they think, oh, I'll join ESN to have the time of my life, and they certainly do, but not necessarily because they party every night, but because they are indeed integrated into the local community. They get to interact with other students, and I think that the work that you do there is very, very relevant. And you do a lot more than just integrate students. At the ESN, you're also taking part in international cooperation projects. We might get the chance to talk about that later in the pod. But yeah, I just wanted to endorse everything that you've said, because I've had the pleasure to work with ESN on a few projects before. So I'm very much aware of the good job that you're doing there.
You mentioned ESN parties. Have you been in any ESN party so far?
I have. I've been lucky enough. I'm myself, I'm Mexican, but when I was doing my bachelor's in Mexico, I got the chance to do an Erasmus exchange through what was then called an external cooperation window that the European Commission set for Latin America. So I spent a year in Groningen in the Netherlands. And there I had the chance to join a couple of ESN parties. I also had an ESN buddy. So someone who helped me integrate in the community. And I think I may have even had an ESN card. So I got a taste of what the ESN life is like.
Perfect. Okay, so you know ESN from the first hand, not only in the policy level, but also on the activity and grassroots level. That's very good.
Yes. I've been able to get almost the 360 experience of what the Erasmus Student Network is.
Talking about the policy level, I just have a question, maybe also some of our listeners might have. I assume correctly that the ESN itself, though, it's a private organization, and you're just helping the students. You're not in any way affiliated to the European institutions, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically the Erasmus Student Network was founded back in 1989. It was founded from the first students that they went on Erasmus. So what happened was basically that the European Commission, when they launched the program, they asked the first students to come back to in Belgium for an evaluation meeting. And there was, 15, 20 students, and they were answering questions from the Commission about their experience and how the program is and so on. And one of the outcomes of this discussion was that the students wanted to have somebody to support them on the ground, to have friends and peers to support them throughout the way. And out of this evaluation meeting, the idea of creating a student organization was started. And those first 15 students in 1989 today became 15,000 volunteers in 42 countries, and the main aim of them is to support international students. So when he or she goes on Erasmus, they come back and they want to continue experiencing this Erasmus Plus feeling and so on. So it's a grassroots movement. It's completely dependent. ESN has its own legal entity, and our local associations and national associations, they have their own legal entity as well. So ESN is not affiliated in any EU institution, but we are cooperating very closely with the European Commission, because the Erasmus Plus program is a program run by the Commission, right? And this is why we have so close ties with the European Commission. But mostly it's a grassroots movement that started out of the motivation and interest of a few students, and now became a very big movement to support thousands of Erasmus students around Europe.
This already speaks of the importance that the Erasmus program plays at the European level, and I would dare say beyond. But before we jump into the details of the Erasmus program and start a discussion around it, I think Harpa has prepared a little quiz.
Well, first of all, I think we've talked a lot about the Erasmus Student Network, but I don't think we've touched upon what Erasmus is in the first place. So for those listeners out there that may be super confused, because certainly I remember when I joined university or started my university career back in 2008, I was in the university for like 2 years before I heard about Erasmus, and then I had no idea what it is. So just a bit of background before we jump into the quiz. The Erasmus Plus program is essentially the EU's program for education, training, youth, sport, and culture. So what the EU does is that they fund mobility, so people can go and train or take part in activities or study abroad within a framework that has been established. And then they also support all kinds of projects. This started with university students going on exchanges, like Kostis mentioned, and they have been, this is where it all started. But since then, the program has grown. It has expanded into, other sectors. So it covers activities from kindergarten up to, adult education. I once sent a person on an Erasmus who was, I think she was 76 years old. She had been a housewife, I think, her whole life, and then she wanted to start study, and she actually went on Erasmus, and she went on to do amazing things. So it's a program really that provides opportunities for people at all education levels. And then in 2014, the program was rebranded a bit by adding a plus. So now it's Erasmus Plus, and this plus represents that it's not just about higher education students, but it's about all kinds of education, youth, sport, and cultural activities in Europe. Now, with that being said, we have a very important Erasmus person with us today. Kostis, you are the president of ESN. With great power comes great responsibility. So I'm here to do a little bit of a quiz with you to see if you know these interesting facts about Erasmus.
Ooh, let's see.
The first thing is, and I'll admit, I learned this when I joined the commission. I had no idea before. Erasmus is actually an acronym. Do you know what it stands for?
European Region Scheme something. I don't remember exactly. Wait. European Region Scheme for Students something. I don't remember.
You are so close. You're almost as hot. Well, okay. So sorry. Side note: in Icelandic, if you're very close to something, we say you're very hot.
Okay.
So I was going to make a joke that you were as hot as the lava that is flowing beneath me in Iceland, but then I realized it might be super inappropriate and not make any sense in English. But you're very close, Kostis, because it actually stands for European Community Action Scheme for the Mobility of European Students.
Yes.
So you clearly knew that it was an acronym and you were very close to remembering all of this. So I'm already impressed. So the second question, which do you think is older, Erasmus or Victor?
I hope you choose the right answer, Kostis.
Ooh, okay, that's a very good question. I think they are about the same age, no? Like, or approximately there. Okay, maybe Erasmus is a little bit older.
Wow, that's exactly the right answer, Kostis. That is amazing. So, Erasmus and Vic are both 34. Erasmus's birthday, the program, is June 15th, 1987. Vic's birthday is June 26th, 1987. So technically, the Erasmus program is 11 days older than Vic. So
okay.
Erasmus program is a little bit older. You nailed it.
Yeah, still 33. And thanks for disclosing my personal information. I hope everyone listening out there remembers this. So I get some cool gifts on the day of my birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I should have consulted you on these questions, Vic. Yeah, you can just do like a beep. So the Erasmus program will be turning 35 in 2022, as will Old Man Vic. And on this occasion, the European Council has decided to issue a commemorative euro coin to celebrate the Erasmus program. And actually, there is a voting ongoing now. So you can vote on the design of this coin. However, this is not the first euro commemorative coin with Erasmus. Which member state had an Erasmus coin in 2011?
I have no clue.
Me neither.
What? You don't know the answer to the question, Harpa?
Maybe,
I meant before I wrote the question, I had no clue.
Maybe Netherlands?
Yes, you are right, Kostis. This was a trick question. It was not actually a euro to commemorate the Erasmus program, but Erasmus, the person, who the program is also kind of named after. So it was the anniversary of the famous text he wrote, Praise of the Folly. So in 2011, the Netherlands issued the commemorative coin. I want to ask you next, how many students / people do you think have benefited from the program? AKA, how many people do you think belong to the Erasmus generation?
I know the last figure that I know, actually, it was 10 million people, which was, I think, 1 or 2 years ago communicated this number. So maybe now it's a little bit more than 10 million.
Yeah, that's the answer I have. More than 10 million, but how much more, we don't know. But yeah, so it's a lot of people that belong to the Erasmus generation. And did you know that one of them won the Eurovision Song Contest, which is the greatest achievement that a human can achieve on this earth. So one of the persons who won the Eurovision Song Contest is a member of the Erasmus generation. Do you know who this is?
Wow, okay. No, I didn't know this information, actually.
That's a typical Harpa question.
Yeah, because I'm a Eurovision nerd. Alex, do you know the question? Do you know the answer?
Of course not.
Of course not, because you have a life and you're not an idiot. You're not a nerd.
No, but I'm really not into Eurovision Song Contest, so I wouldn't know anything else either. So
just give me a bit of time. I will convert you. But the answer is, it was Salvador Sobral, the Portuguese singer who won in 2017. But that concludes my quiz, and Kostis, you did amazing. You deserve to be president of ESN.
Thank you very much. Although I'm a little bit ashamed that I didn't remember the acronym. I tried to remember it so many times, but yeah.
It is a very complicated acronym, and I think it's the reason why people talk about Erasmus. They don't talk about this acronym.
It's also actually quite a bad acronym, because they're actually like one word, which is, I think, communities, doesn't even come up in the C of the communities, not even in the acronym. And then they have the ER is European. It's like
although
really
I think
weird.
the R stands for regional.
No, it's European. It's it's EU, and then the R, the third letter in the European, is the R of the Erasmus. It's really weird. I checked it this morning, actually, and I was like, okay, not sure.
I always thought it was European Regional Action Scheme for the Mobility of University Students, and that made sense in my head.
No, but it's not.
Well, I tried to squeeze a region there, right? You remember, but it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Well, with this being said, how grilled do you feel, Kostis?
Very. Let's continue.
You're certainly hot now.
Hot as the lava.
Very good. So with this quiz behind us, I'm wondering, why, in your opinion, Kostis, why is Erasmus important? Why does it matter? And why should we care about this program?
I think it is important because I think it's accessible. It's accessible for all, with some asterisk here. But I think it's a program that gives opportunities to so many young people around Europe. And it's not, as Harpa said, it's not only about studying abroad. It's about having so many different opportunities. And it gives you the incentive to go out of your comfort zone, to experience another culture, another language, meet new friends, and so on. And it's very powerful because those people who actually do their Erasmus, they feel that they belong in something bigger. They feel that they belong in a very unique, community, which we call the Erasmus generation. And this is a program that really empowers young people. When I went on my Erasmus, I had a specific, ideas of what I'm going to do in my life. I had everything sorted out. I was, I'm going to finish my bachelor's, then I'm going to do my master's, I'm going to work here and there. And when I went on Erasmus, I completely changed my, my plans. I completely changed my my thoughts for life in general. And I'm not kidding here. It really changed my life. So when I came back, I took a very different course of action. And this is what I heard also from all my friends who have done their Erasmus back then. So I think it's a very powerful program with that gives you a very strong feeling and experiences that you might not get unless if you try to do it. And for a person from a small city where I'm coming from, I think I feel very privileged to be able to experience this opportunity and have this mentality that I have now, because without the program, I wouldn't have the same. So those are just some reasons why I believe that it's very important.
I mean, if I can jump in just very quickly, I mean, I totally agree with you, Kostis, that it's so important that it is such a mind-changing and life-enhancing experience. You hear it from most people that participate in the program, that it completely changes their perspective on things in their life. And also beyond that, I think that stepping outside of your comfort zone and, having to communicate with people from different backgrounds, taking on these challenges and studying in a different way and all of these things, this is really enhancing all of the skill sets, all of the life skills that you need regardless what field of work you enter. And if you think about it, the computers are taking over and AI, technology is starting to take away a lot of the practical work that we used to do before. And now really what is needed is people who are capable of, system thinking. They understand global contexts. They're confident and comfortable talking to people from different cultures and backgrounds. They are creative and innovative, and problem solving. And, doing this thing of, stepping outside, leaving your comfort zone and your friends and family and just going into the unknown and taking on these big challenges. I think that this really enhances these skill sets, and we need more people that feel like they can, take on a challenge and really think outside the box. And like you said, now you thought that you had your life figured out, and then you have this experience and you stop and you think, wait a minute, maybe there are some other opportunities out there that I didn't consider before. So, I think that would be my answer to why this program is important.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was very surprised when I believe a couple of years ago there was this Eurobarometer that asked people to name the most important policies that the EU had brought about. And if I remember correctly, number 1 was peace. Number 2 was the Euro. Number 3 was the Erasmus program. And I was taken aback because, to rank behind basically, peace and a monetary union is pretty impressive. So now that they will issue a commemorative coin, Euro coin for the Erasmus program, I think Erasmus will certainly rank first in no time. But what I'm wondering is Erasmus gives you this whole set of transversal horizontal skills that go a lot beyond, way beyond other harder skills that you probably also learn because you go to a different university, you take different programs, you interact with different people, experts in the field, and all of this. But I have the feeling that Erasmus also contributes to creating a different kind of identity. When you were talking, Kostis, about Erasmus shaping your life in different ways, and Harpa mentioning it giving you a different set of skills, expanding your horizons. And I always wonder if Erasmus also helps you create a different kind of identity, maybe a broader one that goes beyond your hometown. You yourself are from Greece, Kostis. I believe you're from Crete, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And now you live in Brussels. You're in Belgium. You're interacting with students from all over the world. Do you feel that Erasmus helps to an extent create what we like to call a European identity?
Certainly, yes, and this is what I tried to describe before, because I told you when I left from Greece to go on Erasmus, I actually went on Erasmus in UK, which is completely different environment compared to where I used to live in Thessaloniki in Greece. So when I did this, immediately my eyes were open, and I saw that there are so many things that you can do in your life, and there are so many people that they have maybe similar experiences than you, or maybe you want to debate on a certain matter. You understand that there are different, issues that you can take care of, you can think about. And it made me, when I went back to Greece, it made me understand that I live in a space that it's so huge, and it's not only Thessaloniki, it's not only Greece. So indeed, I felt this kind of European identity. I felt that I don't want to stay in Thessaloniki only for the rest of my life. I want to go to other places to experience new cultures, to know, to learn new ideas and so on. So certainly, it made me feel more European. That time when I did my Erasmus. Now I feel more this global identity, not only the European one, to be honest, but Erasmus was my first opportunity to actually go outside of my country and live in another country. So yes, that's a very strong feeling that Erasmus gives you.
It was also very interesting when I came to Europe to learn that, for instance, the European Union, despite being this international sort of, regional organization that implements policies in different countries, does not really have much of a say in terms of educational policy. That is still one of the things that is the competence of each member state. However, Erasmus Plus is a very important program for the European Union because to an extent it helps bring together students from different universities that have different systems that whose countries are also fundamentally different, perhaps in what they consider to be of importance for their citizens when they are growing up, when they're studying. So for me, the role that Erasmus is playing in Europe is remarkable. I have to say as well, it's impressive that it goes beyond Europe, right? It's not only the current 27 member states, but also a number of countries that I believe amount to how many? Is it 34 now in total?
Yeah, I think it's 35 program countries, something like that. I don't know, but it's not just the EU member states. It's also Iceland, Norway, Turkey, Macedonia. Oh, sorry, the Republic of North Macedonia, Serbia, and a few others. So yeah, it goes beyond the member states.
Is Switzerland back in the team?
No, it's not back. But I believe it's very much like Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator, as in they have declared, I'll be back, but they're trying to find their way back to the program, and they're not there yet, unfortunately.
Well, fingers crossed they will be back at some point. So yeah, I think the importance of the program is also reflected in the big budget that it has currently, and that the new program will receive as well as part of the next multi-annual financial framework of the European Union.
Victor, what is the multi-annual financial framework? If we are here to explain the EU, we have to cut the jargon.
You're absolutely right. Thanks for the heads up, Alex. Yeah, it's basically a multi-annual framework with money.
What is a frame? Okay. Well, it's just money. It's a budget of the EU for the next 7 years.
It's a pot of money, that different member states put together from their national budgets, and then the EU redistributes via programs and policies, one of which is Erasmus.
Yeah.
And it lasts for 7 years. So each 7 years, the member states of the European Union, they agree on a new budget and new priorities, and the money is distributed accordingly. So for the period 2014-2020, I believe the budget of the Erasmus program was close to 14 billion euros. And according to the latest news, the budget for the next 7 years, so 2021, 2027, will be 24 billion. I'm just wondering, Kostis, is this good enough? It sounds a lot to me, but is this the right amount of money to sustain the program?
I think generally the increase of the budget is something very positive because it's one of the very few programs that they had such a big increase. It's almost doubling of the budget. Or maybe it's the only program. I don't know if there is any other EU program that actually received that much of an increase. So the money the budget that the program will have for the next 7 years, I think it will be enough to sustain the program and to make it even better, much better actually compared to what is now. However, from a student organization perspective, I would say that the Erasmus Plus can give. It has so many potential for EU citizens, for young people, not only in EU but in Europe and the world in general. Therefore, we were envisioning to have even more, But the 24 or 26 billion euros depends on how do you measure it. I think it's a very promising increase, and we will have much more beneficiaries. So in the previous program, until now, as we mentioned during the quiz, we had 10 million people benefiting from the program, right? In 34 years. And only in 7 years, the program aims to benefit around 10 million people. So to achieve basically everything that we have achieved in 30 years, to achieve it only in 7. So from that perspective, I think it's a nice message.
But don't you still think that 25, let's talk about 25 billion more or less, given the total amount of the EU budget, which is around a trillion euros, it's then we have at like 2.5%. Don't you still think, for the high degree of importance for students, but also for the EU itself, don't you still think it's great that this little money can achieve so much, but it's also at the other hand still like a lack of like confidence that education is so unimportant for policymakers, don't you think? Or is it, or am I wrong here and I have a wrong perspective on that? I mean, I could imagine 10%, 20% on education and not just like 2.5%, you know?
Yes, well, unfortunately, this is the case not only for the EU but for the most of the member states, that education always, falls behind when it comes to numbers, and money goes to very hardcore policies that has to do with defense, migration, agriculture, and so on. And unfortunately, yes, education is behind. So from that perspective, indeed, I fully agree that. If you take the whole EU budget and you compare it, it's really nothing. The thing is that, as we mentioned, the decisions that are there have to be made not only by the EU institutions, but by all the 27 countries of the EU. And there were some countries that they were very reluctant to chip in a little bit more in order to increase the budget of the Erasmus Plus program. And for that, we tried to actually advocate and convince the member states to give more money. But unfortunately, this didn't happen. And for the EU, the program is one of the most famous programs. Like you said, Victor, that in the Eurobarometer, it was actually the third one. And I think that if you ask any average citizen in the EU, what does the European Union do and how does benefit people and so on, I think the first answer will be Erasmus Plus program. So from that perspective, I believe, yes, that EU should invest much, much more. But knowing the politics behind and knowing how difficult it is to take these decisions, I think that it's a positive message that we have this money, but certainly Erasmus Plus deserves much, much more compared to what it has now.
Yeah, just a little follow up on that. Which country, do you know by any chance, like which country would oppose more money, and what is the reasoning? And why would anyone be against more money for Erasmus? Is there any like political agenda behind that?
I think the countries that they were reluctant, they were not reluctant only about the Erasmus Plus program, but they were reluctant to give more money for the whole EU budget, right? And if you don't give enough money for the whole budget, of course, they have to, the European Union has to cut it from somewhere. But for example, the European Parliament proposed tripling of the budget, right? And all the student organizations, civil society organizations, and so on, they were advocating for even more than tripling. And for the past 3 years, you could see so many different entities advocating and fighting for a strong Erasmus Plus program. And for me, it was very inspiring to see that the European Parliament and so many decision makers, they were willing to delay the whole approval of the EU budget just to agree for a top-up for the Erasmus Plus program. You know, because we had this issue. We were waiting for so many months to have the EU budget to get approved in order for the countries to receive money for the recovery from the COVID-19, for tackling certain very important issues that they had. And all this got delayed, not only because of the Erasmus Plus, but the Erasmus Plus played a very important role because people, they wanted actually to fight and give it a little bit more budget. And this shows the importance of the program, even in a political level.
This brings me to another question. There is more money, which is always good, even if it's not as much as we would like it to be. But there is also COVID. And that has changed to a large extent the way the Erasmus program works in practice. I can imagine that for students over the past year, going on exchange abroad, if they went at all, was a very different experience than for students before. Can you maybe say a few words, Kostis, on how students have experienced the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on their exchanges and what this might hold for the future? Will the Erasmus program be the same? Will something change? Will it be back to being what it was?
Yes, absolutely. The COVID-19 has impacted Erasmus Plus seriously. And to be honest, if I was a student nowadays and if I had to choose to go on Erasmus and to know that, okay, I'm going to go to another country and I have to stay in my house, I cannot socialize, I cannot meet other people and so on. And, you know, you have so many restrictions. So if I were a student, probably I wouldn't go on Erasmus. But I'm saying this because I have been on Erasmus and I know how it is during normal times. And what surprises me is the fact that although there are so many challenges, so many barriers and difficulties, students, they still go, they continue and go on Erasmus. And this is again a sign that shows that the Erasmus Plus is so powerful and so important that even in the most difficult times, students, they choose to go. And I asked my friends, for example, because I had friends that they did Erasmus during COVID, and I asked them, do you regret that you chose to do your Erasmus during the COVID-19 times? And most of them, they said, no, I didn't regret it at all. It was challenging, but if I wouldn't go now, I wouldn't have the opportunity. And I am very pleased that at least I had the chance to feel it at this moment.
I want to jump in here because we've already touched upon, the personal development that happens on Erasmus and, all of the exciting things that you can do, which are enjoyable. But beyond that, also participating in Erasmus and showing that you have international experiences and a period of studying or training abroad as part of your studies, it boosts your employability. And it's the little something extra that can help, put your CV a bit higher in the pile of applicants. So we've done studies within the Commission into, the impact of being, Erasmus. And I would think, and I'm just theorizing here, but maybe people know also the value of this just in terms of career prospects and the fact that you can only participate in Erasmus, at least as a student, while you are a student. So if you don't take the opportunity when it arises, then this opportunity may not come again. So maybe this is also why people decided, okay, let's go still. It's still international studies that I'm getting into my degree and ultimately on my CV as something that I've experienced as a student.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there are so many different reasons why a person goes on Erasmus, and I think that especially the employability aspect that you mentioned, Harpa, is very important. That was actually my incentive also when I chose to go on Erasmus. But still, I think it's very promising that students they continue, even in these challenging times to pursue this challenge. But I have to say, from a more negative side, though, that the number of students that they go on Erasmus now during COVID has been decreased a lot. So, from our student organizations, from the member organization of ESN, we know that in the last semester the decrease was around 50%, something like that, 50 or 60%. ESN supports every year a specific number of students, and we realized that in the last semester this number was 50 or 60% less. So it's not an official statistics. It's not something that we know like as a hard fact, but this is something that we know from our student organizations. And now in this semester, the number is even less of students that they have been on Erasmus. So the impact was really, really a lot. And there is another problem, the fact that the students, they had to undertake a part of their Erasmus experience online, remotely, which for us, we believe that studying online or having an online Erasmus experience, it's nothing remotely near to what the real physical experience of Erasmus is. That's why we were also trying to argue against those voices who were saying that maybe we can replace, Erasmus Plus and international mobility with online elements to have it fully online because it's cheaper, it's more environmentally friendly, and so on. And for us in ESN, we certainly do not agree with this because we understand that it's completely different to go abroad physically and meet other people and so on and have your studies online. What we like, though, is the blended format of mobility, which is basically having both online and physical and giving more flexibility to participants. That is something that we agree. But those were some of the discussions and challenges that we had also during COVID-19, and ESN tried to safeguard the importance of an actual cross-border mobility. And if I start talking about the challenges that students they have during COVID-19, I will probably stop talking tomorrow. So I will finish here.
But I think that you actually created a very nice segue for us because you mentioned blended mobility, and that's actually one of the new things that can be found in the new Erasmus program that should be starting quite soon. So Victor, maybe you want to take this opportunity and maybe chat a little bit about what's new in the new Erasmus program.
For sure. But that would be more a question from my side.
I think what is very promising in the new program is the fact that there will be some elements that they will make the program much more qualitative. For me, it's very interesting the fact that the program will become much more digitalized and simple when it comes to the administrative procedures. So I remember myself when I was applying for Erasmus Plus, it was so annoying and so difficult to do it because I went on Erasmus 3 times. So I have experienced this thing 3 times, and you can imagine how much I hate it. So I am thinking that in 1 or 2 or 3 years from now, if a student wants to go on Erasmus, they can simply pick up their phone, they can fill their data, they can submit their application, and that's that. And I think by only this, the number of students will be increased, because I think the bureaucracy was one of the elements that was making students demotivated from applying. So all this digitalization process, I think it's something very, very exciting for the students that they will go on Erasmus in the future. So this is one of the elements. The other is the fact that the new program most probably will offer more financial support to the students when they go abroad. Which is something that the ESN was advocating a lot in the past. So they will have a certain amount of I don't remember how much exactly, but 50 or 70 euros more compared to the previous program. And students from disadvantaged backgrounds, they will have even more money. And then there will be another financial support, which is about sustainable traveling. So if the students want to go to another country, they can choose a train or a bus. And then if they choose this option, then they will have their travel compensated. While in the previous program, when you go on Erasmus, you get, 500 euros per month, and the travel ticket is supposed to be there, included in the 500, which, to be honest, it's not enough because all the money goes to the accommodation. So having those top-ups in the new program, I think this is very exciting for the new generation of students. And then, as you mentioned, there will be new types of mobilities. So PhD students, they can actually opt in to do a short-term mobility for up to 30 days, which in the past wasn't the option. Now students, they will have the chance to go for blended mobility, which has 2 different types of mobility, let's say. So one is the individual mobility, where you can go abroad and have an online component before and after. And then you can go on your physical mobility between 5 days to 30 days. So this is completely new compared to the previous program. So for those students who don't have the possibility for different reasons to go abroad for 6 months, now they can opt in for this blended mobility. But for me, what is even more exciting is the blended mobility type, which will offer the possibility for students to go abroad as a group. So you will have 10 students going in one country. Well, actually, you will have, let's say, 10, 15, I don't know how many students starting their course online. And then all together, they can meet in the same country, in the same university, spend their mobility together, and then they can go back and continue their online mobility. So this is actually something very, very nice, in my opinion, to have like a group of students from different countries meeting in one place and to know these people already beforehand. I think this is very exciting when it comes to this. And again, of course, there are so many other opportunities that the program gives, and Harpa knows them, I think, even better than me.
Yeah, well, I do know a little bit about this new program. I won't say why, but I just wanted to comment because we were talking about the power of Erasmus, and now you, Kostis, have so nicely given an overview of all of the main things, new things that are happening in the program, and talking about innovative ways for students to be mobile, like doing it in a group and part of it online, and digital administrative procedures to reduce bureaucracy that surrounds these mobility programs. And of course, all of this is creating nice opportunities for the individual. So the program is becoming, more open and more inclusive, because it's more likely that you as an individual, with whatever personal circumstances you have, can find some option within the program that is suitable to you. And then also, sort of the Trojan horse effect of all of this is that well, the universities, they will have to create courses that can be delivered partly online, partly physically. They have to create courses that are open and other students from other countries can come and attend. So it's all of this innovation that these novelties can also spur on in higher education in general that I also find super exciting, coming from, the university side a little bit. Because I think also all of these exchanges and the cooperation projects that happen within Erasmus, this is also forcing universities to be more creative and to modernize their curricula and to make higher education more exciting and more open and really create a global awareness in the students. I liked very much, Kostis, when Vic was asking you about a European identity, and you said, well, actually, to be honest, it's more of a global identity. And I think this is so important because if you think about, climate change and the UN Sustainable Development Goals, really working towards these and achieving what we want to achieve to address these societal challenges, you really have to address these issues with a global perspective. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere. And how do you achieve a global perspective? Well, we have to remember that, our society's institutions and companies, these are all just made up of people. And if we have more people that have a global understanding and sort of a global civic responsibility sort of as part of their professional career, I think that can help us tremendously in addressing these societal challenges. So I think that this program, it hasn't really started yet, so it remains to be seen what the impact will be in the end. But I think that some nice seeds have been planted there as well to, spur on a lot of innovation and social entrepreneurship.
I absolutely agree, Harpa.
I just wanted to say that we are recording mid-March and the official documents are not yet out there. What exactly is in the program? I think we have to wait a couple of more weeks till EU institutions kind of like really publish the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, so basically, listeners, don't believe anything we have said so far because everything might change.
We're just looking into the glass bowl.
It's an excellent point, Alex. As you said, we still have to wait, but I think we would all hope that it's just formality, what needs to happen now, and the next Erasmus program will actually be as strong as it promises to be. Kostis, back to you.
Just wanted to mention that very recently we helped UNESCO in a global study that they do, which is called the Futures of Education. And we disseminated a questionnaire to the international students and students who have an Erasmus Plus experience to ask them what do they believe are the most important priorities until 2050. And you could see that from the answers of the international students that, for example, climate change was on the top. And all these global challenges that we are facing today, these international students, they actually have a consensus of what are the problems and so on. And it will be very interesting to compare the answers of this survey that the international students answered compared to those that they do not have a mobility experience, to see what's the difference when it comes to their mindset. And 2 years ago, it was in 2019, we did another survey which was related to the European elections. And we wanted to see how active the international students are compared to the non-mobile students. And this survey actually showed that the international students and students who have an Erasmus Plus experience, they have this feeling of an active citizen, a global citizen, much more compared to the non-mobile. And I think it was 60% of those that they were involved in civil society organizations, volunteering, giving to the society, and so on. So we saw from this survey that if you have a mobility experience, then you tend to be more active in volunteering and active citizenship and so on, which is very important.
Can I make a very quick comment? And it's a super corny comment, but you said, what should universities be doing until 2050? What should be the core mission? And for me, I think that the core mission is that you enter university and you're not there just to learn some basic facts, to get a good job and get comfortable somewhere in the middle class, pay your bills and watch Netflix. I think what university should be about that, okay, yeah, you learn those facts so that you can do a job. But on top of that, you should feel like you have some sense of a mission also when you go out there in life. Like there's something that you can also do as an individual to make the world a better place. And it's not just about, the regular 9-to-5 job. And I think if you manage to educate people in a way that you're teaching them the facts of whatever study area they are in, and then on top of that, give them the right sense of skills and the right mindset to also see that job in a broader perspective, and train them to actively think, what could I be doing differently here to contribute less to climate change, for example, or to contribute to social inclusion in society, give back a little bit, in some manner. I think this will have a huge impact. I know it sounds maybe a bit corny, but I really do think that the world is just made out of people. And if we all have this sense of shared responsibility and everybody chipping in and doing, something nice, then that will happen.
I agree with you, Harpa, though
You sound very surprised when you said that. I agree with you, Harpa. Is this the first time that has happened?
No, it sounds very nice on paper, but I'm also was wondering, in the last minutes when we talked about all the good things that come out of Erasmus, in the end, at least so far, it is still a project that is basically made by elites and also partly made for elites. I mean, if we're really honest to each other, it's in the end still only a tiny percentage of people that have ever come close to Erasmus, no heard of Erasmus, or even have been part of Erasmus. I mean, I think the number is 3% of young people and 1.5% or so of all people in the EU, which is, of course, it's logical, only students and then with teachers. So it's a tiny group in the end. But also in this group, obviously, it's mostly the better off people that have maybe more means and are higher up, so to say, let's say no, higher up is the wrong word here, but maybe have experience maybe with education and therefore go abroad. And I'm wondering if you're not more kind of giving to the same people and enhancing the possibilities of the kind of people that are already super open and making them more global and whatever, while on the other side, there are so many people that never go to university. And I know you will say, yeah, Erasmus has also opportunities for non-students, but let's be honest, I think in the end, the percentage of people that are non-students and participate in the Erasmus programs is very, very small. I have a bit of the feeling that maybe that the cultural splits we have in society are maybe even kind of enhanced by that, because now we're having kind of these people that are getting more and more global. And on the other side, we have people that are not profiting from these programs, and they stay just in their local communities. And then we look into kind of countries like the UK and the US and also in Europe, on continental Europe, and we see the split between these kind of two groups in society. And maybe it's a bit of a far stretch here, and I don't know.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Alex. I mean, we can talk about making the Erasmus program as inclusive as possible, and any type of student can participate in it and have enough financial support. That's all well and good. But what about all of those people that aren't even in education in the first place? So what I can say in terms of the Erasmus Plus program is that it also gives money for universities to work together to redesign their curricula, their systems, their educational offers, and pilot projects that are designed to try to reach out to the most vulnerable to get them into higher education in the first place. But it's a very valid point that we have to be careful as well, that we have to really reach out to the most vulnerable in society as well. Otherwise, we're just creating a two-tier system where half of the people just don't have these perspectives that we're talking about, and these mindsets and these opportunities.
Maybe we should already start in school also, Erasmus for schools.
That kind of already exists, though.
Yeah, but is it
there is, but there's not a lot. And I think that we should already, from a very early, stage in education, you should already start training these global perspectives and having some kind of international dimension to the education. And with technology, if we use it right, you can start to do this also systematically, just in classes, that you work on projects, you meet students from abroad. And then, sporadically throughout your education career from, an infant and until you're, 30 or whatever, you have periods of mobility as well, physical mobility where you're living abroad. And also as a lifelong learning perspective, this is also something that the Erasmus Plus program is funding. For example, the concept of, modularization of higher education or micro-credentials or whatever, because our society is changing so fast. And there are a lot of people that are out there that just need smaller training than a full-blown university degree. And shouldn't higher education also have these smaller packages of higher education that can help, give people that need some specific skills, the right skills, but also those that are now, I mean, you have people in their 40s and 50s and 60s out there being active in the labor market, even now 70s or 80s. I mean, our populations are getting older and older. But, when they were in university, like we were writing letters, like on paper, with feather pens. I don't know. But, their education is so outdated that, universities really have a role as well, just to reach out into society more broadly and teach people and train and educate. It's not just about those that are enrolled for the traditional 2-3 year programs or whatever. So I think you make a very good point, Alex.
This is definitely the first time that I hear Alex and Harpa agree on such a topical issue. Very glad that we're managing this through Erasmus. I think it's a very valid point. Is Erasmus bridging the gap, or is it making it even wider? That's perhaps something we could explore as well in more detail on a different occasion, because it's a broader issue that has to do with education privilege, the way that priorities are established in different countries. But briefly going back to the Erasmus program as such and what it might hold for the future, or what the future might hold for Erasmus. I think we've mentioned already two very challenging things. So one is money, the other one is COVID. So I must pop the third one to complete the trinity, and that's Brexit. Kostis, I'm wondering, this is a conversation you must have had already 100 times. At some point, we all got tired hearing about Brexit. But I recently heard something very interesting, and that is that the British government is putting together its own mobility scheme for students. It's called the Turing program. And I'm just going to quote what the website of the UK government says about it. Thousands of students will be able to study and do work placements across the world through a brand new scheme that replaces the UK's participation in Erasmus+. Kostis, do you think that Turing can actually replace the UK's participation in Erasmus+? Is this the new Erasmus? And what are we losing? What are we winning, if we're winning anything at all?
Well, I honestly think that we cannot compare the Turing program with the Erasmus+. It's not even remotely a nice alternative to the Erasmus+ program for many, many reasons. First of all, when we heard this news, we were very disappointed to see that UK decided to leave from the Erasmus+ family, because they were there from the very beginning. They were a very active country. We have so many UK universities participating in the Erasmus+ program, and for me it was really disappointing, because, as I said, I am from those students who have done their Erasmus in the UK. I think the Turing program, you cannot call it an alternative. It's something completely different. For example, the Turing program gives the opportunity for UK students only to go abroad. So there is no this reciprocity of welcoming students as well. So it's just a one-way program. This is one of the downsides, which for us it's the one of the most important problems. The second one is the whole narrative of the Turing program, that it will give the option to the UK students to go to the best universities in the world. They prioritize countries like USA, New Zealand, Australia, and etc. And where is the cultural diversity and linguistic diversity when a UK student goes to Australia or New Zealand? They cannot gain the same things compared to if they go to Spain, Ukraine, Serbia, I don't know what.
They don't even need to learn a different language.
No, exactly. It's you go to another country, they speak the same language as you, and that's the problem. I think the narrative that the UK government has for the Turing program is to send to the students to the top universities in the world, and that's that. There is no the cultural element there. There is no breaking your comfort zone and everything that the Erasmus+ is about. And I think it's not inclusive also. They are pushing their students to go to these universities and countries that I was telling you about, but what about the smaller universities? I don't know, universities in rural cities and remote areas and so on. So that's very disappointing from our side. Now, the UK government claims that they will be able to actually send much more students abroad, UK students, compared to the Erasmus+ program. Indeed, the participation of UK students was less compared to the incoming students to UK. So let's see if the Turing program will be able to solve and tackle this issue. Because I think they have said that they want to send 35,000 students in 1 year abroad, while in the Erasmus Plus, I think the average was around 16,000 UK students going abroad. So if they manage to do that, that will be amazing. But we have a lot of concerns if they will be able to do it.
I think you gave an excellent overview of why Turing cannot possibly replace the Erasmus program. Maybe Harpa has a little bit more insight on that front as well.
Well, the conclusion that I draw from this is that they were playing a money's game. They were looking at, concrete numbers, and then taking this decision. And it is based on some misconceptions. I think that they underestimated the value of belonging to this wider community and all of the other opportunities also that Erasmus Plus gives to UK universities. So I just think that they missed the mark on this decision. But then I also wanted to mention that, because you asked the question, can the Turing program be a realistic alternative to Erasmus Plus? And I just wanted to say, this is a program that has existed for 35 years. There is a common language, there's a common framework, there is a culture and an understanding and a real sort of community spirit that surrounds this program that you cannot recreate in a few months. So I just think that there's a lot of, I don't know what the word is, but brazenness to just say like, okay, we just launch our own program. It's called Turing and voila, done. So I'm very curious to see what will happen with this program. But I'll give them this. They launched it within a few months and we're still waiting for the Erasmus program to be officially launched. So there's that. 1 point Turing, but I think I can confidently say that the rest of the points are firmly placed in the Erasmus Plus column.
I guess this is a real Turing test. There is a fifth chapter I wanted to briefly touch upon because Erasmus goes way beyond sending students abroad and receiving students by universities. It's also about mobilizing teachers, researchers. It's about fostering university cooperations via transnational projects that get funding from the Erasmus program. So it is really a complex creature.
I actually wanted to point out, Victor, that yes, very correctly you mentioned the cooperation aspect of the Erasmus Plus program. It's not only about mobility, but I'm not going to talk about universities and institutions. I will go very to the core of the program, which is the young people who are benefiting from that. So in the current program, you can find 4 or 5 or 6 friends of yours in one city. All together, you can sit down and you can design a project to tackle a societal challenge. And you can design the project, and then you can ask for funding from the European Union to give you the money in order to implement this project. You do not need to be a company, a university, or whatever. You can just be 5, 6, 7 friends gathering together and then apply for a project and have this element of cross-border mobility and tackle certain issues. Apart from that, the Erasmus Plus program gives very important funding possibilities for youth organizations, student organizations to apply for funding and to become more sustainable, to have better structures and so on. ESN as an organization, we get benefited from the Erasmus Plus because we receive a grant from the European Union, which gives us a certain amount of money every year. And we use this money in order to have a sustainable structure. Without this funding, ESN wouldn't be here supporting thousands of international students every year. Because Erasmus Plus, it's not only about student mobility, it's about mobility for any type of learner. You can have youth exchanges, you can have exchanges between youth workers, pupils, apprentices, and so on. And all this is excluded from the Turing program.
I felt like there should have been a mic drop there.
Kostis, thank you so much for joining this episode of EU Untangled. It was a pleasure to have this conversation with you, and we hope we can have you back again some other time as a guest.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was a very nice discussion. Please continue translating on what EU is doing in a very understandable language, because also for me, maybe I'm living in Brussels for 2 years now, but still it's so complicated for me to understand what EU does and all those hardcore policies and everything. So it's our responsibility to translate them in a language that young people and generally citizens understand.
Mic drop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
A lot was said during the episode, so I decided to fact-check some of the statements we made. But first of all, a couple of facts we must acknowledge. The new Erasmus Plus program was adopted on the 25th of March. The European Commission published the first annual work program detailing how the budget will be spent during the first year and, more importantly, the calls for proposals. This means organizations can start applying for funding. This is great news. Another fact. If you got excited by hearing about the commemorative €2 coin that the European Union will be issuing, we're sorry to say that the voting period closed on the 31st of March. Now, we don't know yet which design won, so suspense. Now, on to the fact-checking. The Erasmus acronym was the source of intense debate during the podcast. According to Wikipedia, which references an archive page of the European Commission dating back to 2013, Erasmus stands for European Community Action Scheme for the Mobility of University Students. This, of course, supports Harpa and Alex's statements, where the R is the second letter in the word European. However, according to the 2014 website of the Italian Presidency of the European Council, the acronym Erasmus stands for European Region Action Scheme for the Mobility of University Students. I was not crazy. Now, the official website of the Erasmus program offers no clue as to what the Erasmus acronym stands for. But hey, how many of us actually know the meaning behind our own names? In the end, asking what the acronym means is not the most relevant question, anyways. You don't go around asking questions about the ingredients in your frozen tuna pizza. That would be missing the central point. It is awesome, healthy, and you should totally go for it. The Erasmus budget. We used the ballpark figure of 25 billion during the pod. Well, it turns out that the total budget of the new Erasmus Plus program is 26.2 billion. 24.57 billion in current prices are coming from the new general budget of the EU. An additional top-up of 1.7 billion in 2018 prices was added to this amount. Now, this is also complemented by 2.2 billion more from the EU External Cooperation Instrument. So, depending on the numbers you pay attention to or the person you ask, you can claim that the total budget of the Erasmus program is 24, 26 or almost 28 billion euros if you take into account the External Cooperation Instrument. I also fact-checked Alex, who mentioned that the Erasmus budget represents only 2.5% of the total EU budget, which amounts to a staggering 1 trillion euros for the period 2021-2027. And he was right, goddammit. The dude is a machine. The PhD in economics is certainly paying off. We also mentioned the number of Erasmus Plus program countries. These are the core countries that can participate in and benefit from all the opportunities offered by the Erasmus program. Well, it turns out the current Erasmus Plus program countries include all the 27 member states of the European Union, plus North Macedonia, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Serbia, and Turkey. We named them all correctly, but the number we gave was not correct. It's 33, not 35, as mentioned in the podcast. We must say, though, that the program also has room for what they call partner countries, which can take part in some activities offered under Erasmus Plus under different conditions. But that's a story for another day. And to wrap up, I think we can all agree that the most impressive figure of this pod was the 40,000 earthquakes that have been disturbing otherwise peaceful Iceland, mentioned by Harpa at the beginning of the episode. That figure, turns out, is true. Between the 24th of February and the 15th of March, 2 days after the episode was recorded, Iceland registered more than 40,000 earthquakes, as reported by The Guardian, which quoted an Icelander who at that point said being not scared, just tired. Now, if you've ever experienced the flying bed phenomenon after an intense night of partying, you will understand how hard it is to fall into a deep slumber when the walls around you won't stop shaking. You'll be happy to hear that since we recorded the episode, things have evolved quickly in Iceland. A volcano, whose name I dare not pronounce, finally erupted on the 20th of March, less than 40 kilometers away from the capital, Reykjavik. As stated by the New York Times, no injuries were reported, only joy. And again, if you ever have to deal with a flying bed, you'll understand that once you get that stuff out of your system, it all feels good and calm again. And the scenery left behind by the small eruption is not the stuff of nightmares, but the stuff of dreams, giving way to stunning pictures and exciting footage of lava flows and colorful night skies, described by a newspaper as a real-life lava lamp. Whoa, that's what I call some red-hot fact-checking. Okay, bye!